Hello? Anybody there? Oh, hi. We're having a bit of a summer slump at the moment, but nonetheless we are of course working on interesting, exciting topics. And which ones those are, we'll find out today. Welcome to the Soft Skill channel. My name is Sebastian Jung and I welcome you to the channel update September. We discussed lots of interesting topics recently, starting with the video about multitasking. This is of course not that spectacular because I guess the knowledge that multitasking is not a good idea and does not work and you should better not do it has spread pretty much by now, but I think it is still an important basic topic and an important addition to our video library. And the week after that, we discussed SMART goals, the acronym SMART, another self-management topic. This is also quite an important basic topic because there we learn which aspects are important for a properly defined, properly specified goal. And of course, we also had a book review. And this time we took a look at another book by John Strelecky, The Big Five for Life. Strelecky I always find a bit difficult. On one hand, his ideas are alright. I mean, he pretty much says we shouldn't waste away at a job we don't like, but we should do something we really like and we are enthusiastic about. And this is fine, I have no objections to that. However, when it comes to actual implementation, Strelecky tends to be all vague and flabby and he doesn't give any details, he doesn't give specific examples. And yeah, I don't like that. And sometimes he's also kind of naive, pretty much saying, oh, once you found out what you really want to do, everything will be easy, obstacles will melt away by themselves, and everything will work out by itself. And yeah, I'm quite suspicious about that. But it was quite interesting, and I think the video also turned out nicely, quite an entertaining video, so this was fun. What topics are to come in the next couple of weeks? We will have another 4-week section, so there will be 4 videos before the next channel update. And the first of those is called With Role Models to Success. There we will try to figure out whether we can just imitate the rich and famous to be rich and famous ourselves. Wouldn't it be nice if that worked? Well, we will figure it out. After that, there will be another self-management topic. We will learn about the Pomodoro technique. One of the most popular, most well-known time management techniques. Most of you have probably heard at least the name before, and we will find out how it works. And I have to admit, during my research, I learned to appreciate the Pomodoro technique. Previously, I didn't have such a good impression of it. I had tried it before, but didn't like it that much. But now that I've tried it again and played around a bit with it, I learned to appreciate it, and I'm now using it every now and then because I think it's quite nice and helpful. And after all that self-management, after all that work, we will figure out what work-life balance actually is. Now, this is quite an important basic topic. We had several videos on this channel already that somewhat touched the topic of work-life balance, such as all the stress management videos and plenty of others. But we never really clarified what exactly work-life balance is and what it is not. And we will try to figure it out in that video. I can already tell you there aren't a lot of very helpful sources, or I couldn't dig up any, so we will pretty much have to figure it out ourselves, but we will try, and I think it will be quite an interesting video. And of course there will be a book review, and it will be quite an exciting book. We will have a look at Nassim Taleb's The Black Swan. This is a book with more than 400 pages, so bit of easy reading. It is written really well, so I really enjoy reading it, and it's easy to read. However, it deals with complex topic, so it's not always that easy to grasp everything, to understand everything. So this is a pretty big challenge, but it is quite an interesting, quite an exciting book, and it deals with very interesting topics, with questions such as how do we think, how do we make decisions, how do we perceive the world, and those are all quite interesting topics. We will further pursue this topic in the future. There will also be a book review for Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, maybe still within this year. I'm trying to do it, we'll see. And there we will find out more about this topic, and in the future we will also have a look at some fallacies, some biases, some of the systematic errors we make in our thinking, and we will find out where they come from, how they work, what consequences they have. So there are plenty of interesting topics to explore, and The Black Swan will be the first of those. So what is new in the channel? In the last 2 months, in the last 2 channel updates, I always presented some mini topics within the channel update. 2 months ago, I talked a bit about why it is important to consciously perceive and recognize one's own successes and achievements and to celebrate them. And last month I talked a bit about self-management, why it is important to start with analysis and self-observation, and I told you about the different aspects and different approaches there are and things like that. And I found this quite nice. As I told you before, those were topics that will most likely get their own video at some point in the future, however not in the immediate future, and so I was able to give you kind of a preview and talk a bit about topics that aren't to come for a while, and I think this was quite nice and interesting. How did you like it? Did you enjoy those last 2 channel updates? Please let me know in the comments. Also feel free to tell me what kinds of content you would enjoy in those channel updates. I'm always interested in your feedback. For today, I think I will talk a bit about the channel, what goes on the channel, how things are working out for us at the moment, because it is also an important aspect of the channel updates for me to give you a bit of insight into the channel, a glimpse behind the scenes, so you don't just get the finished videos from me and watch the finished videos, but you can also have a glimpse at how they are made and how the channel progresses, and you can be a bit of a part of the channel. So what's new? One thing I'd like to start with before, so I don't forget it, some of you might have noticed advertising before or throughout or after my videos. And you might wonder where that is coming from. Because up to now, the usual procedure was that if a channel does have advertising, it is done by the channel itself. So once a channel reaches a certain size, you can join the YouTube Partner Program and you can add advertising to your videos and you get a share of the advertising revenue. This was how it worked up to now. However, for this, the channel is still way too small. You need at least 1,000 subscribers and plenty of hours of watch time, and this channel only has a fraction of that. And also the German channel is still way too small, so I can't do that and can't join the partner program yet. But there is advertising nonetheless. And the reason is that YouTube some time ago made a change to their policies, and they have given themselves the option, the ability to show advertising for videos that don't do it by themselves. So for channels that are too small to join the partner program, or that chose not to join the partner program, so they can add advertising on their own. Now, this is, of course, not a change I am too happy about, because bottom line is you have to watch the advertising, but I don't get any revenue from that. So this is not such a good deal. But yeah, this is how things work, and I just wanted to explain to you where the advertising is coming from. Because if I will start to add advertising by myself at some point, if I will join the partner program once the channel is bigger, I will let you know beforehand and tell you about it in one of the channel updates, and there won't just suddenly be advertisements without any explanations. Sorry, I will always keep you up to date on things. So what else is going on? Recently, the channel experienced a bit of a summer slump, a bit of a, summertime, vacation time is pretty much low season for YouTube. The growth of the channel has declined. There are less views than usual, so it is quite noticeable. This doesn't come as a surprise, I have to mention, because I've heard about it before, that summertime is kind of low season for YouTube, and also for a lot of other areas. The vacation time is a bit of a low season where business is not as lower than usual. However, now with autumn approaching, things seem to pick up a bit again, and progress seems to increase again, which is nice. And also for ourselves personally, the last few weeks and last few months were a bit of a stressful time, because it was rather work intensive. In our work life, we had some challenges, some tasks, some work, and also in our private lives, we had some big tasks we needed to work on. So it was kind of a work intensive phase, and it was a bit of a challenge to still keep those regular video releases up. You always have to keep in mind running a YouTube channel on a regular basis with regular video releases is pretty much like an additional part-time job you do on the side. So you shouldn't underestimate the time and effort required for that. But also there is some progress. We finished some of the big tasks and made good progress on others. So things are getting a bit easier by now and will increase in the future, will improve in the future. So generally the current development is rather good. And one thing I am quite happy about is that the English channel, this channel, has started to develop pretty well. At the moment, the English channel, Soft Skills English, is growing faster than the German version, Soft Skills Deutsch. And this is a first. Up to now, the English channel was always a bit lagging behind, and the German channel was always far ahead. And even now, the German channel still has way more subscribers than the English one, about 350, and the English one has about 150. But currently, the English channel is growing faster and things are picking up. And I really like that. I like to see the English channel doing so well. And another thing I'm quite happy about is that we made good progress in regard to our topics. As I've told you recently, for Schulz von Thun, the German communication psychologist, quite important, we finished discussing his Miteinander reden series. His most important books, literal translation would be Talking to Each Other. Unfortunately, they are not available in English. There are 4 volumes, with the 4th being merely a questions and answers volume, an edition. So there are 3 main volumes, and I presented all of the important topics from those books to you, and I'm happy that I have this range of Schulz von Thun topics on my channel for you. And I'm also happy that with the book review of The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker, we entered into the topic of leadership and management and starting doing that. And The Big Five for Life by Strelicky also belongs there. So we started dealing with this interesting and fascinating topic, and there will of course be more additions to that in the future. And finally, we have made a lot of improvements in regard to the topic of self-management. In the beginning, in the first couple of months of the channel, there were very few videos dealing with self-management, but now I've started to cover this topic more intensely, and I've managed to close some gaps, to cover some of the important topics. The Pomodoro technique will be another nice addition to that, and I'm quite happy about that. And I'm looking forward to the Black Swan and the whole topic of perception, decision making, and so on, and fallacies, biases. As I said, there are plenty of interesting topics there, and I'm looking forward to doing more research about them and presenting them to you. I'm quite happy to have you here on this channel, and I wish you all a nice late summer and nice autumn. I'd be happy about a like, subscribe if you didn't do so already, write a comment if you like, you know the drill. We will see each other again next week when we figure out whether role models can help us become rich and famous. For today, I'll take my leave. Have a nice day. See you next time.